All hands salute. Hello, my name is Cheyne, and my purpose today is to inform you of the charity that I can best relate to due to my personal experiences. That charity is the Salvation Army. I believe that once you have heard the information that I will deliver to you over the course of this speech, you will hopefully have a better understanding and appreciation for this charity. I will begin by giving you an overview of the history of the Salvation Army and of the communities in which they operate. The Salvation Army was established in 1865 by William Booth, and from its inception the Army has awarded women equal opportunities by making them every rank and service open to them, and from childhood the young are encouraged to love and serve God. Raised to evangelize, the Army has embarked on missions for the social betterment of the poor, such concerns have developed since then, wherever the Army operates, in practical, skilled, and cost-effective ways. Changing social services met the needs of many people and have adapted them to meet the problems worldwide. The Salvation Army is one of the largest charities in the world, and its efforts and services have affected the lives of millions of people over the course of many decades. From family tracing to disaster service response, the Salvation Army offers a long list of services. These services include, but are not limited to, addiction dependency, emergency disaster response, social work, homeless shelters, and veteran placement programs, as well as the more commonly seen side of their efforts, such as thrift stores. The thrift stores contain low-cost merchandise that can be purchased. You can also see the bell ringers outside many local stores during the holiday season collecting funds for their cause. Now I'll explain more in depth the Salvation Army's charitable works. The most well-known service they offer are the thrift stores that you can see everywhere. They began to be most common in the 60s and 70s and serve many purposes, not just selling items at lower cost to consumers in need, but helping many that need these services. These stores raised money for their rehabilitation programs by selling donated used items such as clothing, housewares, and toys. The Salvation Army also has a history of free rehabilitation from alcohol and drug abuse, and the thrift stores provide the revenue to run adult rehabilitation centers known as ARCs, or ARCs. The ARCs are work and Bible-based operate with 12-step programs and offer residential facilities worldwide. Clothing collected by the Salvation Army stores that are not sold on location are often sold wholesale on the global secondhand clothing market. The Salvation Army also operates a fleet of trucks that pick up donations from people's homes for the thrift stores. Donations of clothing, furniture, and other household items can be scheduled for pickup online at their website, sattruck.org. These events are often held in their donation stores as they provide a sizable location to host these charity drives. In addition to selling these low-cost items to people that need them, they also donate a sizable fraction of these items to homeless shelters and addiction rehab facilities. This helps aid in the recovery and stabilization of people that are experiencing difficult times. The next service that the Salvation Army is equally as important, if not more so, than the other service that I just referred to. This service is the social work that they provide to the international communities in which they operate. They are responsible for running many locations throughout the world that provide services to needy people such as the homeless, sufferers of addiction, and troubled youths. The humanitarian aid that they provide is to countless numbers of people and is irreplaceable and has changed many lives. They work in conjunction with other charities in the local areas that they operate to better provide and reach as many people as possible. They operate soup kitchens, housing shelters for the homeless, provide meals and shelter for over 1 million people every day. They also provide counseling and rehabilitation for people free of charge if they are suffering from substance addiction, severe mental trauma, or if they just need someone to reach out to. In addition to the local relief that they offer their communities, they also offer help on a grander scale. In the USA, the Salvation Army's first major efforts into disaster relief resulted from the tragedies of the Galveston hurricane of 1900 and the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. The Salvationists' nationwide appeal for financial and material donations received a huge response, allowing the Army to provide assistance to thousands. When General Evangeline Booth offered the services of the Salvationists to President Woodrow Wilson during the First World War, the Salvation Army was thrust to newer heights in the social relief work that they carried out. After the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004, they arrived immediately at some of the worst disaster sites to help retrieve and bury the dead. Members of the Salvation Army were among the relief organizations after Hurricane Hugo, Hurricane Andrew, and other such natural disasters in the United States. In August 2005, they supplied drinking water to the poor affected by the heat wave in the United States. Later in 2005, they responded to Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. Since Katrina struck the Gulf Coast, the Salvation Army has set aside donations of more than $365 million to serve more than 1.7 million people in nearly every state. The Army's immediate response to Hurricane Katrina included the mobilization of more than 178 canteen feeding units and 11 field kitchens, which together have served more than 5.7 million hot meals, 8.3 million sandwiches, snacks, and drinks. Its Saturn, short for Salvation Army Team Emergency Radio Network of amateur ham radio operators, picked up where the modern communications left off to help locate more than 25,000 survivors of this disaster. Salvation Army pastors were also on hand to comfort the emotional and spiritual needs of 277,000 individuals. As part of the overall effort, Salvation officers, employees, and volunteers have contributed more than 900,000 hours of service. The Salvation Army also was one of the first relief agencies on the scene for the September 11th attacks in New York. They provided prayer support for many of the families of missing people. The third service that I would like to talk to you about with the Salvation Army is it's one of a lighter note, and that is pun intended. That service is music playing. As the popularity of the organization grew, the Salvationists worked their way through the streets of London, attempting to convert individuals were sometimes confronted by unruly crowds of people. A family of musicians, the Frys, began working with the Army as their bodyguards and played music to distract the crowds. The tradition of having musicians available continued and grew into brass bands. They are still seen in public at Army campaigns, as well as other festivals, parades, and at Christmas. Across the world, the brass band has been an important part of the Army's ministry and an immediately recognizable symbol. The Salvation Army also has choirs. These are known as songster brigades. The songster brigades are normally comprised of the traditional soprano, alto, tenor, and bass singers. The songster brigades are normally comprised of the the Army operates bands at a very high standard on the international level. The Army has the International Staff Brass Band, which is the equal of professional ensembles throughout the world, although it does not compete in competitions. Some professional brass players and band personnel have Salvation Army backgrounds, and the Salvation Army Corps have brass bands that play at the Salvation Army's meetings. The Salvation Army also fielded large concertina bands. From the turn of the 20th century to the Second World War, between a third and half of all Salvation Army officers in Britain played concertina. For an evangelist, the concertina's portability and its versatility to play both melody and chords, and the fact that the player can sing or speak while playing, were all distinct advantages over brass instruments. The Army tradition in music today is to use the popular medium of the time to reach people for God. The Army's Joy Strings were a hit pop group in the 60s and early 70s in the UK and beyond. Another popular band is the Insiders, an American SKA Corps group popular in the 1990s and early 2000s. Hundreds of current bands still carry on the Salvation Army tradition. Another significant musical feature of the Salvation Army is its use of tambourines with ribbons representing the colors of the Salvation Army flag. Timbrels play an integral part of the music in the Salvation Army and are mainly played by women. Local corps usually sing contemporary worship music songs in Sunday worship services, as well as traditional hymns and music accompanied by the brass band. Today, it is becoming common in Salvation Army corps not to have a full brass band due to many social and cultural reasons. Some Salvation Army corps make use of the smaller ensembles of musicians because of this. Often this ensemble consists simply of a guitar, piano or keyboard, drums, and bass guitar. The early Salvation Army bands were known for their excitement and public appeal, and the modern ensemble keeps this ideology. Traditional hymns are still used in worship services and are modernized to suit the locale that they are in. Now you can clearly see how much the Salvation Army influences and helps not only our area, but worldwide needs. Through their thrift stores, humanitarian endeavors, and musical contributions, the Salvation Army has spread their goodwill and charity to many people and have made long-lasting impacts on millions of people's lives. You may not have had much contact with the fine people of the Salvation Army, but their behind-the-scenes work impacts everyone, no matter their social standing, whether they are rich or poor. They make the world a better place for everyone, one donation, one prayer, and one musical note at a time.